Good evening. I'm Steve. This is my rock and metal life, and I am sitting in a room in Las Vegas, Nevada this evening, and I'm going to talk about a show that I went to about almost 2 months ago now. It's been a while, and I've been slow on the draw to get any content up. It's been almost exactly a year since my last video, uh, and that just happened to be LA Guns live in Fresno back in July of 2025. Well, this show here that I'm going to talk about is Stephen Pearcy with LA Guns opening, and that just took place in May of 2026. And I'm going to talk about that now. As I said, I'm in Las Vegas. I am just across the strip, like just maybe less than half a mile on the other side of the strip from Caesar's Palace, where Evil Knievel, who I believe owns this town, he had that jump at Caesar's Palace. And as we all know, the jump was successful. He made it. It's the landing that didn't go so well. So he cleared the fountains. But anyway, they have a museum here that just opened this past week. It's called the Evil Knievel Experience, and it was fantastic. And I'm a big fan of Evil Knievel. Might even do a video on him down the road here. But anyway, I'm tucked away into the corner of this room that I'm in. It couldn't be any more awkward. The lighting's a little screwed up, but who cares? I'm going to talk about Stephen Pearcy and LA Guns. And this is a show that took place in a town called Tulare, California, which is pretty close to where I actually went to high school. And it's a smaller town. The venue is fairly new. It's an outside amphitheater. It's right in the middle of town. And it's just a wonderful venue. And I had no idea what I was going to see when I got down there, and it turned out to be just fantastic. I noticed that this place came on the radar last year. No, it was on my radar. I think they had Lynch Mob, and it might have been one of those Lynch Mob Dawkins shows. I don't recall. But anyway, I knew that, some of these classic rock acts were going out there. And then when I saw the Stephen Pearcy LA Guns one, I thought, there's one I got to see. We don't very often let LA Guns come in our area without going to see them. We're well into the double digits of how many times we've seen them. And then Stephen Pearcy, of course, that's going to be a RATT show, right? And so even though I would love to hear some arcade and stuff like that, Stephen Pearcy did, in fact, do a really good RATT show. And, there's a lot of people that are critical. Sometimes I'm critical of how people sound these days. And, I think at this stage of the game, the musicianship is absolutely top notch with just about everybody. And I think, you get hired gun guitar players and, uh, people that have been on the scene, people that are really good. And that's great. The music's always really good. You get that wall of sound and it feels fantastic. But with the vocals, that's where, the tried and true guys that have been out there for all these years, that's where you run into trouble sometimes. And I'll say, Steven wasn't obviously 1984 Steven, he was good. He was pretty good. And there was that one disaster video out there a couple of years ago. It wasn't anything like that. And Steven's a ball of energy, and it was fantastic. LA Guns, they are really on top of their game, and Phil Lewis is singing really, really well. And so just a terrific show. I'm going to start with LA Guns for I don't know how many times I've seen them. In this latest incarnation where you got Phil and Tracy are back, of course, and then they've had Ace Von Johnson on the other guitar for quite a while. They've been, the last few shows I've seen them, they've been opening up with Cannonball, and here I can't remember exactly which record it's on, but it's not one of the classic ones from way back when. It's one of their newer records. And I want to say that was The Missing Piece, but I'm probably wrong. But anyway, they start with that, and that's a really good opener, and the crowd's all ready to go, and they throw that at them, and it's just a great song. And then they go right into the classic ones, Electric Gypsy, Over the Edge, Sex Action, and then they do Like a Drug and Speed. And now Speed, now that I remember Speed's on The Missing Piece, I'm fairly certain. So those newer songs right there, and Speed's not that new. It's been out for quite a while now. They've had several albums out since Phil Lewis came back. Um, a lot of these bands, when they play new recorded material, the audience doesn't want to see them. These songs go over well. These songs go over really well, and they got another one later in the set that does the same thing. So LA Guns not really stuck playing the classic material. Of course they have to, and of course they should, because they got wildly popular with those first four records, or the first three records, I guess. So anyway, after Speed, they go into One More Reason. Wonderful song from the first record and concert song. Audience really into it. I Want to Be Your Man. That kind of surprised me the last go around when they played that. That's, in my mind, that's kind of a deep track. I know they made a video for it. Um, I really like it, and it's a cool song to sing along with, and dumb lyrics, and that's fine. Good stuff though, good stuff, good guitar riff, and pretty straight ahead rocker. And then Kiss My Love Goodbye. I really like that Hollywood Vampires record. I like that a lot, and it's hard to go against the first two, but I put that one right there with it, and that's a good song from there. The next song, Lucky MFer, and that's right between the eyes. The audience gets into it right away. Even the people that may not be familiar with it, that's a song that really gets them going. And then the Never Enough and the Ballad of Jane and Rip and Tear. That's a pretty good LA Gun set. That's covering everything everybody would want to hear from the good old days, and then, like I said, the new songs that they put in there. It really doesn't slow anything down. Cannonball, very good to come out of the gates with. And all along, Tracy pays homage to his heroes, and I think if you've been checking them out lately, the show starts with Diary of a Madman. So you get to hear Randy Rhoads in all his glory. They play the whole song before they come out with Cannonball. And then it says here on set lists for Never Enough, they introed with Hell's Bells. He does a lot of that stuff. He does a lot of intros of good stuff, and it's just great. It's wonderful. Tracy's playing really, really well. He's really engaging the crowd. Phil Lewis all over the place. Ace Vaughn Johnson really doing his thing. This is a really good band, really good live band. Once again, I highly recommend everybody go see them whenever you get a chance. And I was noticing on set list, there's a lot of chances because they play a lot. They're busy. So that's LA Guns. I've talked about them so many times on this channel, and I'm happy to say that there's no disappointment with them. The other cool thing about this, I'll talk about a little bit more later, was I purchased VIP tickets where we actually got to be on the stage, and we were on the side of the stage. We were right next to Ace Vaughn Johnson, and so we're on the stage looking at the audience, and that was pretty cool. So Stephen Pearcy comes out for the main event, and like I said, it was a really good RATT set. He starts with Wanted Man, and boy, I really like Slip of the Lip. And he did that, and I Want a Woman, which I never really cared for that song, but I like Reach for the Sky. You Should Know by Now. That kind of surprised me from the Invasion of Your Privacy. I wasn't expecting that, and I should say, how could I not be expecting it? Well, I didn't go check. I mean, I know these set lists are out there, and I didn't. I just I don't very often do that either. I don't want to necessarily know ahead of time. A lot of times I'll see online, I'll see on X or somewhere else, I'll see someone saying, oh, they played this or that. And this one, I had no idea what Steven was going to play. And I was hoping he'd play some arcade. But anyway, so after You Should Know by Now, I did Way Cool Jr. And that, of course, gets everybody going. You're in Trouble. I'm Insane. Loving You's a Dirty Job. I love that song. And that goes over good live. You Think You're Tough. Love that song. You're in Love. Lay It Down. That's a pretty good Murderer's Row. And then Lack of Communication, and then Nobody Rides for Free, and he finishes it off with Back for More and Round. Boy, that's some good stuff. I really like Dancing Undercover. I like a lot of Reach for the Sky. Detonator had a couple of really good tunes. There are so many songs from the first two records, like especially the first record, that he could fill the whole set with the first record, and then lay it down in Your Love, and really not leave too much room for anything else. But he got quite a few of these other songs in there, and it was a great show. It was a terrific show. Like I said, we were on the stage, and there was a little side seating area, like you had tables and you had drink service. And the band, neither of these bands really like, I don't want to say they didn't acknowledge us, but like they didn't really like come over and play to us very much. There's a little bit, but not too much, and that's fine with me. That's perfectly fine because I'm sitting here. I was sitting there like right in the line with the drummer. So if I look straight ahead of myself, I'm looking at the drummer, and if I look at an angle, I'm seeing from behind the other guys. I'm seeing the audience, and that's a pretty cool view that you don't get too often. And it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. It was worth, obviously, we paid a little bit extra for that. And I thought, you know, might as well do it, right? I'm not going to too many shows lately. So that was a good time. And the venue, it was a place called Adventist Health Amphitheater in Tulare. And like I said, this was a town not too far over from the one where I went to high school and close to the same size. And when I was in high school, they were in the same league for sports and everything. So I'd been over there. I'd been over there to play baseball, and I'd been over there to watch the football team and so on and so forth. Hadn't been there in a while. It'd been a long time since I'd been there. And I was very surprised. It was such a good venue, good crowd. There was like the front was, they have essentially like a pit area, I guess you could say, a standing area right up against the stage. And then they had grass, like tiered kind of, and you could put seats on the grass. You could bring your lawn chairs in, and in the back of all that, as it went up a little incline, people had chairs, or people were just standing on the grass. And then above that, you have like the back half of the whole thing was food trucks and stuff like that, and there was like a park for kids, and people did bring their kids. um, and it just happened to be the first like really warm day of the year. It jumped up to upper 90s for the first time this year. And you kind of feel like, oh gosh, it's outside and it's going to be crazy hot. But they had misters lining the walkways on either side. And I've seen misters in a lot of like ballparks and stuff like that, and they really don't do much. These things, my goodness, you walked under these, and you probably 15 degrees cooler like that. Uh, Really neat, and it was a really cool venue. I mean, just a really cool place to be. uh, and Phil Lewis mentioned something during the set. He said, "Man, a month ago I'd never even heard of this town, and look at this. We got a couple thousand people here, and it couldn't have been better." Just I don't know if they've been touring like in other places like that didn't have such good weather, uh, but we didn't have all that great weather leading up to it. And then that day the weather jumped up, and it was just a beautiful summer night, like seemingly out of nowhere because of what had been going on around here. Just a really good show. And being that it's my first one in quite a while, uh, that really helped out. And once again, the familiarity with LA Guns, being in those seats right there where they're coming in, uh, like from off stage and backstage. And you know Tracy would solo and Phil would come over, and he stood right next to us and drank water, and headed back out there. Several people brought vinyl records and handed them up there, and Phil signed them during the show. Kind of neat. But yeah, it was a good show. It's a real good show. Good times. Uh, Pleasant experience. Absolutely nothing went bad. There weren't any fights. There wasn't, the bathrooms didn't break down. There was a bunch of bathrooms, plenty of food if you wanted it. It was just a lot of fun. So that's that. Stephen Pearcy, if you want to see a rat show, I'd recommend go see him. LA Guns, they were really, really good as always, and they're playing just really high level. There just isn't much of a drop off from the glory days for those guys, if any. And the opening band was Red Voodoo, and that's a young group of guys from Sacramento, and they're playing some good rock and roll. I bought their EP on the way out of there. They were really, really good. And Viking Dave, local DJ who has a show called Denim and Leather, he announced them onto the stage and mentioned that Sammy Hagar said that Red Voodoo reminded him of the early days of Montrose. And I actually, myself, I would say the first Mr. Big record, like the rockin' Mr. Big record, like as far as the vocals and the up-tempo stuff. But the Montrose comparison isn't bad at all. So good, Bill. And I've kind of lost hope that the Greta Van Fleets and the Rival Sons, uh, I mean, they're good, and I like them and I appreciate them, but we're not going to get. Uh, it's just hard to imagine like next year, Rival Sons is going to be the biggest band in the world, uh, doing stadiums or anything like that. I just think our kind of music probably we're not going to see something like that anymore. But if Red Voodoo's out there, that I'm following them around. I'm gonna make a point to see where they're touring. If they get a new record, I'm gonna get it. They were great. They were fantastic. High energy, really good musicianship. So there it is. Triple bill. Uh, Ordinarily, I don't care to see the opening band that I've not heard of, but Red Voodoo just totally got my attention and they were great. So that's about it. I'm going to post this. If anybody's got anything to say about LA Guns, Stephen Pearcy, Red Voodoo, anybody been to the venue I mentioned, uh, let me hear it. I'd like to see comments and I'd love to talk to